And this is when the moments turn to memories.
Okay, so the next step is I want to prepare the necktie that I'm going to use to embellish the teddy bear. And I am going to take and make a necktie. I've already cut some pieces and I've already got them prepared, but I wanted to show you what I did before, because I accidentally had already started doing it before I realized, oh, I forgot to film this one. Anyway, I took the neckties and I cut off the tip of the necktie because I'm going to use it in the pocket. And I'm gonna, you know how somebody would put like a scarf or, fancy shirt comes with a little handkerchief in there. Anyway, so I cut the tip off of the necktie and then I used my pattern. And where's my little piece? I made myself a little template. So this is really important that you do this. So I made a little paper template, and I actually have tape going two ways. Tape on the paper and tape above it that goes the opposite direction. And this is the reason why. So I'm going to first tape it to the center of my pad for my foot. The first part of the tape, I'm going to rub it down so that it sticks. The next part will actually stick to the item. So then I turn around and I put the pad where I want it to go on here. And when I do, I rub that part and then it sticks. And then I can go ahead and I can lift up and I have that exactly where I want it to stitch. So what I did was I sprayed adhesive cutaway, and then I used spray adhesive again and put tear away so that because satin really wants to scrunch up when you are bind up when you go to stitch it. So if you look at this, it's a very nice stitch out. So if you want, and I left the backing of the necktie in there, so that's really good. And then what I did was I spray adhesive some more just little sections. I just used my scraps of my cutaway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on this one because this is not the actual tie I will be using on the teddy bear that I showed you before. This is the actual one. So this is the finished product. This is to make the necktie. These are the ears. And these are the foot pads. Oh, and let me get the scarf part. Well, not scarf, handkerchief. The handkerchief piece that goes into it. So the reason why I did this is once you get busy starting to stitch your bear, you want to make sure you have all your parts ready to go, because otherwise then you have to stop in the middle of it and get them all ready. So I've already done this color, and so I'm going to let you watch me do these other colors that that you'll be able to see. So neckties are quite interesting. They've got lots of layers to them, and you want to open up your necktie as far as you can get it. I also pressed my necktie to try to get some of the creases out of it. Really and truly, it's not going to really matter because you're not going to see them, because I'm cutting from the center of the necktie because I want that padding behind it. But I want to open it all the way up as much as I can. And then I'm going to spray adhesive some of these. And I have a little box that I use so I don't spray adhesive everywhere. So I'm going to do 2 sheets because I'm going to put two parts. Just lightly spray it just so that it's got something to where it situates itself on. And then you're going to come back and cover that right there. And then do it again, because we're going to leave this on there. The pads are going to have a lot of good reinforcement. Now, here's what else I did. I flipped it over, and then as you can tell, the necktie is not attached to the felt that is underneath there. Well, actually, you know what? That might be okay because it attached itself to that. So I think I'm going to be good. But anyway, it's not attached to there. So I want to lightly spray that part. Try not to spray your fabric. Don't spray your fabric, because it leaves a residue on your fabric. But if you spray the other item first, that looks like a stain that was already there. Okay, so now I've got it this way, and I've got it nice and prepared. I'm going to lay my template, making sure that you can see it. I'll lay my template over the area where I want to cut out. And then I can see where I put my Love Pappy. And I'm just going to cut around it. And trust me, do it this way, because otherwise if you cut it out, then you've also got to deal with this sticking on. You'll have to use sticky stabilizer, and you'll have to get it just in the right spot. I mean, it can be done that way, but I just find it easier. And I'm just going to scoot it on down and continue cutting before I do anything else. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's all the same. Yes, it does. I got that one upside down. Let me fix that. So that does matter. You do want to make sure that if it's directional, that you want to make sure that you're going the same direction for each. And, you know, unfortunately, you can't like flip it and fold it because there's just not enough fabric. And you have to just use with what you've got and it will turn out. Okay, so that's that. And I'm going to come up here and do the ears. And I will say the ears are shaped just a little bit. They're not really symmetrical. So I do flip my pattern so that I'm going to have one ear going one way and one ear going the other. And I'm trying to conserve as much of the necktie as I possibly can, because this particular customer wants all of her scraps back. And I have been known to take neckties and cut the neckties into hearts, and I have sewn them underneath wedding dresses, and that's a very sweet touch. I've done that with both of my children. And or either you can just do whatever clothing you have. It doesn't have to be neckties. I did that with my niece with her mom's clothes because she passed away before she got married. And you can do little special touches like that. You're still being able to see this. Okay. And then here's the last one. And you can see there's lots of layers, so it doesn't always cut all the way through. So have your scissors nearby so you can trim what doesn't get cut by the rotary cutter. Okay, so those are the two pads for the bear's feet and the two ears. And then I have a template already from where I already practiced. And I'm going to show you that one. Did I already cut this necktie off? I did. And did I sew it on the wrong one? I did. Okay. So I already have this one sewn on. So let me show you. I'm going to have to take that off because I believe this goes to the different pattern. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. But this is what I did, was I took the necktie, and I sewed this like this, turned it inside out, and then I kind of folded this, and I shoved the necktie through my little loop right here. This will actually move up and down. I will hand stitch that so it doesn't actually come off, but then I stitched it right there so it'll be in the neck of the bear, so you won't really see that. And this so far is just tucked in there, and I just tucked it, and I will actually take and go up underneath where the pocket is and do a little tack down stitch right there, so you can't pull that out either. But I want to make sure that I can when I get ready to sew it, because I want that freestanding. So I'll pull that down and then I'll sew the neck. Then I'll pull that up and then I'll do a little tack down stitch with hand for that one. So evidently that's the one for that one. So anyway, but that's how you do it, and we'll get busy and I'll show you the other stitching as we go. Okay, let me use this one as the demonstrator tie, because I realized that I could have just used this to show you when I cut the necktie. So I just laid this right here, got my size. I'm going to use this. So that's the necktie. I'm going to flip it around. As a recap, making sure that all of this is cut away so you can go all the way up. Spray adhesive some pieces. Put this one away so I don't lose it. Spray adhesive the back. These are just scraps from where you embroider, and what do you do with all the scraps left over? Well, this is what I do with all the scraps left over. Anytime you are sewing on knit, sports fabric, the dry fit fabric, it's, if you sprayed it, or satin or something like that, if you spray adhesive this part, you will make sure you don't want to spray your table. So I'm putting some of my scraps behind it so that it doesn't come up. Anytime you were stitching something like that, you're going to want to make sure you put this extra layer, this spray. And so I just put a scrap behind it, and it keeps it from moving. And then you want to make sure you get it all nice and smooth. Got a bubble right there on that one. Okay. And you don't need this piece anymore. That was just to keep that in place. And now I have that. Come back and show you this again. Put your template down. And again, if you're just tuning into this portion of the video, I used plastic. I don't know whether they're plastic like cutting boards or placemats from the Dollar Tree to make my templates. But they work great. You have to bear down really hard with your rotary cutter, because you are going through felt and probably about 4 layers of other fabric. Okay, that's the foot. Slide it down. Get the ear. Remember, I'm going to do one side for the one ear, and then I'm going to flip it because the ear is not symmetrical. I hope my arm is not in the way, but you know, I kind of have to be a contortionist for me to cut it without my arm getting in the way. I'm trying. Okay, make sure you close your rotary cutter and use your good scissors or those scissors and trim up what didn't go through. I felt like I went through all of the layers there. Didn't get through my cutaway layer. That one's seriously a thick layer. Okay, there's that one. This one wasn't as bad, but as you can see, this is not sprayed to there, so I'm going to spray adhesive that. Make sure that that's sprayed. Here's your scrap. This just keeps it from shifting in the sewing process. Okay. Back here, I never did pull the ears out. My ears are the same way. They're going to have to be sprayed. There was another layer in between there I didn't compensate for. Okay. Spray that in just a second. Here's the last ear. But I have to turn that one again. Oh, that one did stick. So I just need to trim around this stabilizer. And the reason why I don't cut this with scissors to begin with is because I find that fabric bunches up, especially this type of fabric. So it's better if I don't do it that way. And then I can, and then I get an accurate cut of whatever I'm cutting. Okay. So now I have all of my parts to be able to sit down with my bears, and I can sew them all up. I have 4 bears that I'm making. Okay. Here's another helpful tip. When I'm sewing bears, I do not sew one bear at a time. And the reason being is that it takes too much time, and I like to multitask, and I like to do the same stitch over and over again, same thing over and over again. So that's the reason why I have them all 4 cut out. But my organizing tip for you is this. I have already previously pressed all of the pieces for this bear. And I know the customer wants this color tie on this one. So I'm going to keep all of its parts together in a Ziploc bag. This one goes to this one. This one goes to this one. And this one goes to this one. Now I've already previously started stitching these parts. So I go through and I stitch what I can. So this one has been stitched with that. I've already pre-stitched the arms. I've already pre-stitched the legs. And that's the back part of the body. Cannot put it together yet because I had to have these other parts together. So the next thing I will be stitching together is the bear's head, but I couldn't finish the head until I got the ears cut out. So I need to have the ears, the front side of the ears, So that's now done. And I also wanted to stitch down the necktie, and I need the pads of the feet. So I can't move forward with that, but what I will do is I will stitch all of those parts just the way they are, and then I'm going to put it back in the bag, and I'll go to the next bag, and I will stitch all of the parts that I can stitch of that one together, and I will put it back in the bag. Same with this one. Same with this one. After I get all of the parts stitched together, then the next time I take it out of the bag, I'm going to actually start constructing the bear and putting it all together. And then I will have bears made for each one. And I will try to videotape part of that as I go along.